Royce Unchained. Now, Pat, people are hammering Suhan for the column he wrote yesterday, kind of defending Glenn Taylor. Are you at liberty to speak about Glenn Taylor, who also owns the Star Tribune? Is this going to be
Yeah,
propaganda from you?
I am. I did talk to Glenn for 3 hours in Naples in middle of February. I never got a hint that he was going to. I knew that they were having trouble with some deadlines, but I never got a hint that they were going to pull this out of the bag back then. The only thing I ended up getting out of that 3 hour interview anyway that I wrote was how he bought the franchise in the first place, which was a week into this whole battle. I mean, it was months ago. I pretty much stayed away from it. I did hammer A-Rod today, but I waited. I wasn't going to do that before the arbitration verdict came down, because I figured everybody'd say, "Oh, you're just writing that for Taylor." No, I'm writing it because I think A-Rod's a pretty despicable guy. But that's why I'm writing that. But I didn't feel like that should be written before the battle. And honestly, I guess the one concession to Taylor owning the paper, but for me, would be I never quite figured out his strategy of doing it. I could never quite figure out what was going on here from their standpoint. And I'm not surprised at all that Lori and A-Rod won the arbitration. I mean, once they sign up Bloomberg, it's a little hard to. I was very surprised at Jim's column about 2 weeks ago. I haven't talked to him about it, but the one where he said they might not have the money and everything. They got Bloomberg. He's got 104 billion. If they got to go borrow $1 billion, they can do it from Bloomberg. So I don't
Yeah.
think the money was ever going to be a problem once they got the team. So I don't think. I would guess there's some guys who have important jobs over there in the executive branch who are a little upset about this, because let's say if you're Ethan Cason or somebody like that, you probably don't think you're going to be around too long. Once these guys take over, they're going to bring in their own guy, right? So
Yeah. There's definitely a divide. There's definitely a. So
but
A-Rod's not getting your Hall of Fame vote, is the.
no, A-Rod was never going to get my Hall of Fame vote.
Okay.
I think is he the only twice suspended guy for steroids? He got the 30 days and then he got a whole year.
Yeah,
So
it's the most famous
that's
one,
what
yeah.
offended me. The guys that got caught once didn't really offend me. Okay, I was doing it. I got caught. Okay, I'm going to stop doing it. He just dived in both feet with the biogenesis. He was jealous because out on the West Coast they were all getting those biogenesis stuff. So he dived in both feet with that, and then, according to the New York Post, which is the best source for A-Rod dirt there is, he was ratting out guys too when they on the biogenesis thing. Ryan Braun and a couple other guys, he ratted out on the thing. So I just don't think he's a very trustworthy fellow. But and I also, as good as he was, why did he need the roids when he was a
Well, I mean,
20-year-old?
Barry Bonds is the
Yeah,
same question from
yes,
the late
Barry
90s.
Bond. Well, he's got sick of seeing that big bloated white guy from across the bay hit all the home runs. So he decided that he was gonna do it himself. But yeah, Barry was crazy too, and he changed his game completely. But I mean, A-Rod at 20 years old was one of the best players in the history of the game. He would just think they had Griffey come along and A-Rod. That's unbelievable that you could have those two guys. You could produce those two guys in your same system. And as a kid, I kind of liked him. And then he went to Texas for that huge contract, the first huge contract. And then Seattle won 116 games without him,
Isn't
which
that
was
crazy? Because I
it
mean,
was unbelievable.
Ichiro in a decade span, and they didn't
Yeah,
all play together, but to
no,
have prime Griffey, A-Rod, and prime Ichiro, not to
Ichiro,
mention
yes,
Edgar
Edgar
Martinez and these other
Martinez,
dudes,
Randy.
Edgar
Randy Johnson.
Martinez, Edgar Martinez, who might have been the best hitter in the American League, he couldn't run. He couldn't outrun me. He couldn't play in the field, but man, could he hit! I mean, they were a machine. There's no doubt about it. And but I don't think much changes here beyond the timeline for building them a new ballpark. Do you new stadium?
Yeah, they're kind
I
of, I mean, Judd brought this up the other day. Like their front, like if Tim Connolly stays, their front office is there. Anthony Edwards is under contract, and
yeah.
from that business side, there might be some changes. But yeah, the new arena is the next big question in the
Yeah,
next 2 years, maybe.
and Connolly's solid, and if Connolly wants him, Finch is solid. I would think Connolly is. I mean, you see around the arena some Connolly. I saw him talking to Glenn maybe once or twice, but I saw him talking to these guys and going into the. And let's face it, one other reason I'm bitter about A-Rod is he stole 2/3 of our press room there and took it over to entertain his
It's a
girlfriends.
dance club now,
So
Pat.
yeah, yeah, is that what it is
It's
now?
hopping, yeah.
A-Rod's dance club. So yeah, and they stole that. So, but hey, everybody's gonna say, oh, they're whining about a new arena. Well, you you go around the NBA, and I haven't been around much lately, but they need one. They're going to have to do something. The big thing to me, and I talked to Judd about this, is we got to keep it from being built in Egan. We got to keep it downtown, the new arena. And with this Minneapolis City Council, I don't know if that's possible or not.
Yeah,
That's the
yeah,
problem. Yeah, because here's the thing, Pat. If you go back to when the soccer team was trying to build, right? All
Yes,
they asked for was help on like infrastructure and
yes,
basically help us and give us tax breaks, and then we'll build the building. And they
yes.
said no. Same
That was
thing here. The same exact thing. There's no way that these guys are going to pay for every bit of like the land purchase and then excavating it and
no,
then the
no. They're not
soil
going to do
work.
it up. No,
And you're
Fry
right.
and Fry would make a deal with them, I think, but he
Council won't.
he can't control that city council. So,
Yep.
you got the city council that figures if we throw 400 million into an arena to top off the price, then we could be giving that people to the people. Well, no, you're not getting anything back. Giving it to the giving it to the people. So I don't know. It'll be tough.
yeah.
That's for sure. But the other thing is, I had this wild thought. They want 7 billion in expansion money for Seattle and Vegas. Is the number you're hearing? 7 billion. If you got Bloomberg with you, do you just give them the 7 billion and move these guys out there? I don't know. Yeah,
I
I don't
mean,
know.
I
I don't
think
think
I
so.
think the NBA would love to just keep a team in a
Yes,
top 14 market and then expand to
yes.
these other two markets. And although it's
Especially
like, there's been a lot of like A-Rod's Seattle stuff, right? Like, is he going to
yeah.
move the team back? Seattle is not. There is a broken relationship still between Alex and Seattle, having lived there for 2 years. I can tell you that.
And the NBA can
Yeah.
block that too.
Yes. But I don't know, Phil, you lived out there. Is there that strong an appetite for them to bring back the
There
supersonics that
there is.
somebody's going to pony up 7 billion?
Yeah, and there are enough people out there that like there's a lot of massive tech
Oh
money
yeah.
out there,
Yeah, that's right.
Mercer Island and some of these
Mhm.
areas. So there are people, but yeah, from a fan standpoint, I mean, they love the WNBA team out there. They definitely love basketball. Sean Kemp still has a weed shop at the bottom of the hill in Seattle. Very popular.
With Gary
Yeah, I
Payton.
was driving by. Where was I driving by the other day? Oh, this shopping center we got up a newer shopping center, and they got a thing in there that's called Hi Ho. Is that a marijuana? Is that a marijuana joint? It looked like it was like
Oh, they
I
might have
looked
some
in there.
THC seltzers for you there,
Yeah,
Pat.
but that's pretty funnel with your advertising if your name of your outfit's Hi Ho or
Yeah, I
something.
think it's like the
And
Delta
you,
9, which is like the kind of legal stuff that they can do, and they're probably prepping for when it's recreational can get down here to the metro because it's only at the tribes, I think still right now.
yes,
So I think they're prepping for that, and then it's probably Delta 9 and THC seltzers and other random
Well,
stuff.
we got a place up the street that's they came in and it was a convenience store and they turned it into it's still a convenience store, but they turned it into tobacco and they got the Chewies and up there, and they got these big glass counters with all this stuff. They were expecting business, but I think most of the good marijuana smokers are still using their same person and getting it cheaper from the guy they used to buy it from. I don't think the business has been the bonanza we thought it was going to be.
I don't
But
think so. Yeah.
anyway, that's another point. Anyway, I have no
I think we
I
should
have
stay on
no
that.
problem with these guys taking over. We'll see what happens. And I was as I wrote a column, Passion A-Rod, because that's the way I feel about A-Rod. But
Right. Do you
I
think is Glenn gonna? I mean, so I think it's been assumed that, especially with the Bloomberg money coming in, that they're gonna buy out Glenn's 20% remaining. Do you
yes.
think even if he's no longer a minority owner, does he keep those tickets? Does Glenn still show up, throw the sweater on, and
Oh,
sit
well,
once his recovery is done?
he hasn't been there since December because he had hip surgery, and he's 83 now. He probably won't come back. I would guess he won't come back. He might go to the Lynx games, though. I think Becky loves the Lynx game. I would think what they could do is we'll give you the Lynx, and 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 then pay for that takes care of 10 of the 20% we owe you, and then the other 10% we're buy out or something like that. But I don't think that'll happen either. How about the at WNBA? By the way, all these teams are fighting for towns. Nashville wants an expansion team, and
Yeah.
all these towns they're going to have
Detroit
a
wants back
six.
in.
Detroit wants, yeah, there's going to be a
Back.
16-team league again. So that's I wouldn't say it's an asset in this sale for these guys, but certainly since this all started, the WNBA has become more valuable than it was when the whole how long has this thing been going on? 3 years?
4 years in April.
4 years?
4
4 years in
years.
April.
Isn't that
Yeah.
crazy?
So yeah, it is. It didn't. It
The
and the
franchise has more than doubled in valuation according to Forbes. It's worth
yes.
$3.1 billion now.
But the other thing is, I think it was Glenn originally who wanted this system, right? Did he
Yes,
want these payments coming in like this?
he did.
That at least he's given. I didn't really get that out of him whether that was all his idea or was that the only way they could pay
It's
for it.
it's been
I,
conflicting. I've heard behind the scenes that Lori maybe asked for it, but I've heard both sides have kind of disagreed on how the structure came to
yeah.
be.
The story that came out was that Glenn actually tried to pull this stunt with like two people before, and they're like, no, if I can't buy the team right
Yeah.
now, I'm out. And
Hmm.
so that these were the first two to agree to what's the system called? Tranches?
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah, yeah, that's right.
The
That's not.
payments?
There's nobody. I came up through education, through high school, and when I did, economics was balancing a checkbook. That's all we learned in 12 grades of education.
Yeah.
Was nobody ever worried about telling us about prime interest, even nothing. So I have no economic background whatsoever.
You just know that the math is easier when you stop the gasoline pump on a zero.
Yeah, that's right.
That's
That's
what you
right.
learned.
That's right. And that was that's about it. That's all. So I don't know what it was, but it looks in retrospect like Glenn just threw a Hail Mary to. I know one thing: his partners are not happy with him. The guy that owns 23% or something, the guy out in New Jersey or New York or someplace, some guy owns a pretty big hunk of it, and he's not happy that he's taking this much less money than the franchise is worth. So Glenn might have some difficulties with some of those guys because it's not all his. He's got I don't know, the four, he calls them the limiteds, and there's 5 or 6 of those guys that
Hmm.
have a hunk. So it is funny, though, when he started in the early years in the NBA and what the franchises were worth, when he first paid Cat that 126 million or whatever it was. He was going to pay him 103, and then Cat backed off. Remember, and he gave him the biggest contract ever. He went to the bank and borrowed it. It was not, the franchise was, because when they run a business,
Are you
it's
talking about KG back in the day?
KG, yeah, Garnett. Yeah,
Okay, yeah.
Garnett, the KG one, the 126 one. Did I say Cat? I meant
Yeah.
KG. Yeah, the 126 million. He went to the bank and borrowed the money. He said he had that loan for like 20 years.
That's amazing. So
Yeah.
what was was that like some big signing bonus or upfront chunk, and then because you don't give them the whole 100 up front,
No,
right?
but it was no, it wasn't. But there was I don't know how much was up front, but remember he was going to take 103 or something like that, and then all of a sudden no, and I don't know, he changed
Yeah.
agents or something and ended up with 126. But the big triumph for these guys is going to be when KG comes back and they can retire his number and have him hang around and maybe give him 1% or something to have some kind of a
Give him
job.
Glenn seats.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
man.
that's what they could do. Give him
That
Glenn
night, have
Keith.
him sit in Glenn seats.
Hell, then he's close enough. He can check in if they someone gets into foul trouble. Just rip
Well,
off
if he
the.
didn't let that buddy of his steal 70 million from him, he could buy a little hunk too, So
Yeah.
he did not.
KG and Kurt
he,
Schilling are the Mount Rushmore of
yeah,
having
that's right.
50 and
Yeah.
70 million dollars stolen from him.
KG and I have been equally careful with our money. It's just that he had a little more of it to fritter away than I have had. So, wonder if he wants to buy a house with a pool in Golden Valley.
Well,
Close to Target Center.
Yeah, close 4, 5, 6 minutes, right? If you hit the light, you're right there. It's pretty good.
it's key. You got to hit that
It's
light.
very, very close. So, anyhow, how about our Twins, man? They got so much pitching. Every time we put somebody on waivers, he gets claimed. The Yankees took Brent Hedrick, for God's sakes, as a lefty. And then even Ronnie Henriquez got claimed by the Marlins. That isn't so much of a surprise, but too much pitching, man.
Too much pitching.
And I got a question for you guys. Start of spring training. Now, maybe because I'm not down there, maybe because we don't have anything to do with them anymore. The anticipation here is incredibly quiet, isn't it?
It's zero.
It is amazing. It is just somebody an old Twins fan messaged that to me, that he says this is the guy from out of town, McFeely up in Fargo. He said he says I've heard less talk about the Twins starting spring training at any time. It's they're we have no idea how close they are to selling, but they need to sell more than Glenn did. I'll tell you that.
Yeah, I mean, it is one of the most incredible year and a half falls from grace.
Yes.
They had everyone 18 months
Yes.
ago. They had
Yeah.
everyone. And
Oh God, yes. August 1st, if you get some pitcher, some breathing pitcher who can give you a few innings, and they would have not, gotten nearly as much heat as they got now. So,
yeah.
but hey, Buck's fully healthy, so we
No
got that going
surgeries.
for
Yeah,
us.
did I
He's been
see this is
relaxing.
the first off season he hasn't had to deal with like some sort of pain or injury? I
That's
feel
what
like
he
we've
said.
heard that 3 other times, haven't we?
Yeah, but they've already, I think the skipper Rocco's already been quoted as saying, "We're going to give him days off. We're going to, he might be fully healthy, but we're still going to play him 2 and take him and have him sit the third."
They've got Ty France now, Patrick. What more could you possibly want?
What happened to him?
He
2
was
years ago,
awesome for a
2
couple of
years
years.
ago, when you were in Seattle, he was a
I know.
hero, right?
Pat, I was telling these guys, Ty France was literally one of the like most popular players on the team for the 2 years I lived out there. And something, I don't know, man. And it's not like he's old because he's like
30.
30. So
Yeah, last
I don't know.
2 years ago he was bad. Last year he was unusable. I don't know what happened. I'm trying to think of. There's cases like that, of course, that guys just
He
pop
did
up
have
and
there was a
pop down.
foot or a heel injury that may have played into some of it. So we'll see.
Well, Ty, there couldn't have been a better place for you to sign than here, because can he go over to first base and put his foot on the base properly and catch a throw from Correa?
See.
That's really all we want here. We just want someone to know when the ball's hit. We don't want Jose over there when the ball's hit to his right and he runs over and dives in front of the second baseman who's standing there ready to catch it, and then there's nobody covering first.
Pitcher's got to cover then.
We want to take that
PFP.
play out of our
PFP.
game, right? We want to get rid of that play. So here's the big thing I'm excited about. I think we're not going to do the phony deal this year, and we're going to let Louis start in the bullpen, don't you?
Oh, we're not
Yeah.
going to pretend like okay.
I'm not going to pretend
think
like
let's
he's
do
a
it.
starter. I think that'll make a difference. He's that when the guy gives you 4 1/3, I think Louis can get you to the 7th. He can throw rockets and not have to worry about the rest.
He
of
should
the
grow a
stuff.
beard for intimidation
Yes,
purposes if
he
he's going to
should.
be a reliever.
Oh, yeah.
Don't you think?
idea.
He's
Just a
got that
big.
baby
And just
face.
talk to
I don't-
himself.
I
And
don't
just
know.
talk to himself on the mound. I hate you.
Yeah. And what they should do instead of showing regular videos when he comes in the game, they should show videos of him when he was a
Wrestler.
all-star wrestler at North St. Paul, putting some guy in a headlock, and he's the
Good
leading
idea.
winner of wrestling matches in the history of North St. Paul High School.
Mhm.
And did he win I don't think he won a state.
I don't
but
think
was
he
like
won state.
runner up or something. But he's a monster. We should have gotten his brother too. His brother's still got to be floating around, right?
I think he got claimed by like 4 different teams last year.
Yeah,
I think he
last year.
pitched for 3 different teams.
He was with
Milwaukee,
the
Los
Dodgers
Angeles.
for 10 minutes,
Yep.
and then he
Yeah.
got lit up. And,
Speaking of physically imposing pitchers, did you guys see the video that went viral in New Orleans outside of a French Quarter bar? John Rocker and Pat
Oh, yeah.
Mahomes Sr. getting into a dust up
with each other or with people?
with each other.
With
They
each
were
other.
like they had to be separated in the streets of New Orleans. Yeah.
Did
And then they
Pat,
feuded on Twitter yesterday.
Yeah.
They were tweeting back and forth.
Pat Senior?
Yeah.
Yes.
Did
Pat
alcohol might have been involved?
He might have had a few cocktails.
Yeah, but
I'm
gonna go on
pretty
a
sure
limb.
Rocker was holding a beer on the
in
street
both
while they were
cases-
arguing.
In both cases, there might have been alcohol involved. So anyway, yeah, my friend Sharkman was there, and of course, on Saturday, he and his 3 buddies went to get IVs and massages before they went out and hit the streets. They had to be ready. Is that a new thing? If you really want to party, you go get an IV?
The IV, I'll say, we made a couple Vegas trips last year, and what they have inside some of the like mall areas on the Strip, they've got the IV stations, and they also have oxygen stations. So you can go and
That helps.
you can
Yeah.
get an IV and some oxygen to recover
Oxygen
from
is
whatever.
huge.
Yeah.
That,
In my 20s, I did that.
I've only been back there. Well, I was a lot in the 80s when I was sober, but I was back there in the summer a few years ago for some damn reason. And boy, you go to that town and that's when you miss drinking. When it really is, because it's really,
great,
I mean, it's what it's all. Because when you go into these bars, these crummy old crappy bars, sober, it's like, when you go in there hammered, let's go.
Yeah. The old part, the seedy old part of Vegas.
Yeah, the old Absinthe House. I don't know if they still have, but they used to have women's underwear hanging up on the lines up on the roof there. The gals would get drunk and throw their undies up there, and they'd stay up there. So that's probably the hygiene police might have gotten.
I was gonna say,
gotten
that's not a
hold
health
of that.
code problem, right?
Even in New Orleans, that could have been a health code problem, I think.
What's that dripping from the ceiling?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Stop.
Come on.
Stop.
Okay. All righty.
So bad.
So anyway, I'm gonna Dwayne. You remember Dwayne Kozlowski? The wrestler, the Greco-Roman wrestler, silver medalist, chiropractor for the Twins.
Okay.
Now, and he's a twin, and his brother Dwayne died this week, 65, kind of unexpected. So I was looking, I'm going to do something on them because these guys came to Minnesota Morris, and if they couldn't find somebody to fight with, they fought with themselves. Kind of that. I looked it up. 3% of the births in this country are twins. I'm surprised it's that high.
Wow.
3%. Wow, that's I always thought it was like 1 out of 200 or something like
What's
that.
the triplet percentage?
Well, that's
more?
a very, very, very,
Worst
very
nightmare.
small. But 2 is, I thought it was more rare than that. So anyway,
Yeah.
I got
I
that.
want to guess that.
No, I wouldn't be there. What else we got? Nothing. That's it, right? We're done.
No, well, we'll react to a couple Wolves games on Friday. Got the Bucks in town
Ooh,
tonight,
you
and
don't think?
I think Giannis and Lillard are. Did I see they're both
Yeah.
not playing in this
Is
game tonight?
Lillard not
Giannis
playing?
is
That's
out.
the word now. Yeah. Yep.
Lillard had
It
a
looks
big
like
game
he's
the
not going
other
to play.
night. They'd lost 6 out of 8 before they won the other night. So they're
Better win this one now with those
Go
two
get
not
this
playing.
one. Yeah, go
Okie
get this
City.
one.
What 2 out of the next 3?
Yeah. And like Thursday and Sunday here. Explain that to me.
So when the score was 40-16 the other night, how long do you think it took me to go to Twitter and say, "Boy, I'm surprised the team was this upset about the
They are
arbitration
to
decision."
protest.
It took about 3 minutes to
0
get.
for 16 to start that
awesome.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
over
crazy.
16. How do you do that?
No.
How does Ant end up getting 41? Was it 43, 41, 43 in a game where your team starts 0 for 16? Unbelievable. They got a fighting chance to be about 1 game over 500 when the All-Star break comes. When is the All-Star game? Next week, right?
Next weekend.
One last question. Are you into the Four Nations Cup, Judd? Are you going to be watching tonight?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Is
Definitely be
that,
watching
but
it.
the U.S. doesn't play tonight, right?
No, they play on Thursday.
And
And then they play Canada on Saturday. So buckle up.
Okay, really?
Buckle
Boy, am
up.
I excited. I just hope we can beat Finland, man. I really hope we can.
Finland's depleted, Pat.
Oh, really?
Very depleted. Yeah, the problem is for Sweden and Finland, this is an exclusive tournament to guys in the National Hockey League, and so you can't bring like your elite players.
Really?
Yeah, so we're basically screwing Finland at least. Yeah,
So
Sweden's
it's going to
fine.
be us versus Canada, right? When it's over.
That's the hope.
Okay.
If it's
You
not,
know
it's not
what?
going to
You know what Morgani told me many years ago in Calgary when the Swedes were playing the Russians, and
Yep.
we were sitting there, and he says, "You know what? This Sweden's problem is they got too many Swedes.
They're tougher now.
Played too soft back then."
They'll fight now.
One of my favorite press box quotes of all time. We'll see you, gents.
All right, Pat.
Bye,
See
Pat.
ya. We'll see you on Friday, sir. There he is.
Okay. Goodbye.
Royce Unchained on Score North.